tone. This is just hours after a man was arrested and has been linked to at least 14 now IEDs sent to targets of his and targets of the president, including the Clintons, Obamas, and, of course, CNN. Out front now, Republican Congressman from North Carolina, Mark Walker. He's leading conservative in the House. Congressman, thank you for coming in.
Our privilege. Thank you.
Do you think the president, he said today, he said tonight, do you think the president is at all sincere when he calls for unity? Do you believe him?
I do believe him. I believe in his heart he wants to see things unified. I believe we are all, certainly, as your host talked about, there's some responsibility that goes around. But I think it's really the bottom of his heart. I do believe that he wants to have a more peaceful union.
But as long as it's a union that he decides how it looks, I mean, how does it begin? Doesn't it begin with him?
Well, I think if he's the commander-in-chief, certainly there is some responsibility there. We have always, the 3 years, almost 4 years now that we've served in the United States Congress, we have made sure that our tone, our heart, the way that we share things is always in a form that does more than just simply makes the argument, but it's more about making a difference. This coming Monday evening, I'm a presenter at the Thurgood Marshall College Foundation Gala Awards, and I hope that is in due part to some of my tone. I think it's very important. I think all of Americans need to get back to the place where we're sending messages in the ballot box and using the post office for absentee ballots and not IEDs.
Amen to that. I just wonder how. When you see what we are seeing playing out yet again at a rally tonight, as law enforcement still looking for maybe more IEDs in the mail out there. I mean, Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, already, he said today that he thinks that the motivation behind the attacks seems to be political. I'm going to play for you Jeff Sessions.
Could you tell us plainly, why was he targeting Democrats?
I don't know, other than what you might normally expect. He may have been appears to be a partisan, but that would be determined by the facts as the case goes forward, and I'm not able to comment on that.
From what we know, outside looking in, do you agree with Sessions?
I will tell you this, as the starting pitcher on the baseball team and my teammates, once we found out that a guy's name that we still to this day don't mention, the name is James Hodgkinson. Most of your viewers probably wouldn't realize that name. We made an agreement that, one, we would never blame Bernie Sanders, even though he worked as a volunteer, and two, that we would not give him the attention that maybe he craved. Listen, absolutely, we abhor any kind of act of terror like this, and to say that there wasn't some kind of partisan undertone, I think would be mistaken, but it doesn't mean there's specifically a connection as well. But people are driven lots of times by biases, by partisans, and we've seen it multiple times.
So then, Congressman, and I appreciate what you're saying tonight, I really do. What do you say to the folks then on the far right, Rush Limbaugh, Michael Savage, Geraldo Rivera, I played it earlier, I'm not sure if you had a chance to hear it, who are questioning whether these attacks are even real, calling it false flag attacks, calling them a hoax, saying that it's, I don't know, I think perpetrated by a Russian to embarrass Donald Trump. I mean, something like that. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I think my responsibility as an elected official, Republicans and Democrats alike, we've got to make sure the tone is right. There are many people, as a former pastor, I dealt with many couples who had family members who were struggling with mental health disorders. People sometimes take that at face value. Just 3 weeks ago, we had a Secret Service issue on ours. We had some threatening messages and somebody trying to find out where my 12-year-old daughter was going to school. We have to set a better tone. I can't speak for all these other organizations, both left and right, who may propagate some of those false messages, but I know what I can do, and I would call on the other 434 members of to do the same. And
probably maybe the one person living in the Oval Office as well. Congressman, I know you do. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time tonight. And thank you all so much for joining us this evening. So much to cover. I really appreciate your time.